Okay, I think it's live. Hi, everyone. My name is Esther Uwanah Edit. I'm from Nigeria, and I'm an editor at Patsy. So before we start, I'm going to let you guys introduce yourselves so we can then get into the conversation today.
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Patsy Ferguson. I'm the editor-in-chief of Fourth Wave, and we're the sponsor of this event. We're an international feminist magazine on Medium, which is a platform where writers get paid, and we all publish there. So I hope you'll look for us there. Um, and I'm just very happy to be here. I'm calling in from San Francisco.
Hello, my name is Muniba and I am from Pakistan. I am principal editor of Fourth Wave. And again, I want to say this that we all are together to spread this message that we want change and we don't want war or anything like this. We want love.
Love,
Thank you.
yes.
Hi, my name is Sangeeta. I am also an editor at Fourth Wave, and I am an Indian who was born and raised in the Middle East, and I currently live in Italy, and that's why you see Italy on the thing.
Okay. I don't know if it's just my network, but like the screen is not moving at all. But I'm just going to go on and speak. Like you guys are lost.
Well, we can see you and hear you, and at least I can.
Okay.
My screen is working. So go ahead, Just
Okay.
assume it's working.
Okay, so the topic for today's conversation is what does feminism mean where you are? And the inspiration, I should say, behind the topic was a submission to Patsy during the week from a writer who lives in India. And until we started receiving submissions from this writer, I never knew how much of a taboo feminism is in China, because I've always thought we're a more progressive country. Like it even seems more terrible than my own country. At least you can talk about feminism on the internet. Over there, it's like, especially if you're a public figure and you speak about feminism, you could literally be blacklisted because you spoke about feminism positively. So they make it like a very big, terrible taboo over there. So that was the whole inspiration behind the topic. What does feminism look like where you are? And I think it's really interesting because we're all from different parts of the world to talk about what feminism is in the part of the world where you are. I'm in Nigeria, Moni is in Pakistan, Sangeeta is in Italy, and Patsy is in the United States. So to start with, I'm just going to ask everyone the question: what was your first introduction to feminism? Like, what was your first introduction to the idea of feminism? And when you heard about it, were you like open to it? Did you reject it? Like, what was your first exposure to feminism?
Well, that's such a good question. I mean, I didn't call it feminism, but I grew up in a family of all women, five girls. My father was not home that much, and I read Wonder Woman as a child, and I just, was I just had a naturally feminist consciousness. And I wouldn't say I was using that term, but it just seems like I grew up in a feminist environment.
Okay.
Okay, I guess I'll go next. This is a very interesting question for me because I didn't. Oh, Damilola.
Hey, Dami.
Hello.
Hi. Hi, Demi.
Glad you're here.
Okay, I will continue. It's just because when I was growing up, No one other than our English teacher, although we were taught a little bit about feminism briefly in history, no one other than our English teacher was really talking about feminism and feminist topics as a, political stance. So much of what I learned about feminism was through literature, through writers having to take like a nom de plume so that they could still publish because of how little rights women had and how unserious we were taken in the literary world. And then I didn't even get into intersectionality until I was a little bit older. So this was, I'm talking about being 10 years old, 11 years old, learning about feminism through authors, through writers, through um, women in media in a way. And then after a point, getting a little bit older, I realized, oh, there's intersectionality because most of the crux of feminism that you get is from a white lens. Because, for example, in my country, uh, female authors existed, and female characters would often be central, but they were still in modern consciousness kind of fringe ideas and fringe people, people on the edges of everything. And that was probably a lot of people attribute that to specifically the British and the Portuguese colonizing us. But I think there was lots of different things. I think it's tough because it's only more in the last 15 years where I feel like I've become a lot more conscious of what it's like and how represented or rather underrepresented people of color are in this movement. Because, for example, a lot of the things that you still get to see about feminism, they don't really affect us the same way. When people say, for example, oh, in the 50s, you didn't work, that's not true about us. That's not true about people of color. Um, but then when you're young, getting these ideas, you are getting it from a sort of white feminist lens. Not to say that that's wrong, but it's just, it does kind of warp the timeline for you. So, if anything, that consciousness of my own issues came to me much later than a lot of the issues that I learned about from the West.
Okay. So, Dami, we're talking about like what was your first introduction to feminism? And we're just sharing this story. So I'm going to go first so you kind of get the idea and then you can also share yours. So my first introduction, it's not an interesting story at all. And I cannot remember exactly when I was introduced to feminism. But I know that it was through a writer. It was not even through our books. Just after reading a book, I went to research about who she was when I was very young. And she was very controversial at the time. That's Chimamanda. I read Pop Hibiscus at the time. She was very controversial at the point in Nigeria because she's a Nigerian author who is based in America. So she's a feminist, like she identifies as a feminist. So she was controversial because this was seen as a white thing. Like she's trying to be white and she's bringing this white idea into Nigeria. So she was very controversial at the time, but I saw her point a lot. So I kind of agree with a lot of things. She was like a lot of ideas. And also I went to a school where I wanted to be the class captain when I was in primary school, and I could not be the class captain because according to my teacher then, a woman cannot be like the leader of the class. It has to be boy, or a girl cannot be the leader. It has to be a boy, and then I can be the assistant class captain. So like all of that, and yeah, when I first was introduced to the concept of feminism, like it was already like being condemned. So it was not something I was very like I did not identify with it. Even I agreed with it. I was hiding it. And I even wrote the story like even last year. Even last year, I said when I started writing on Medium, a friend from school saw my article and he sent me a message and I was like, oh yeah, I don't know what to say to that. Like it felt like such an accusation. And I left that message unread for like days. Even though this is somebody we talk often, but I did not know what to say to them because I was like, should I say no? Should I say yes? Like, and I had to block him from reading my stories on Medium because I did not say it. But I think I unblocked him late last year. That was like early last year. So even until last year, like I still was not like identifying like that as a feminist, even though I was in my corner, but like not publicly, just on the internet, not with like the people around me like that. So yeah.
So the microphone jiggled a little. So this acquaintance of yours said, "Oh, you're a feminist." Is that what he said?
Are you a feminist? Like he
Are you?
asked.
He asked,
Yeah.
and didn't want to answer.
I didn't want to.
I get it. I get it. How about you,
So
Dami?
for me, my first experience to feminism was when the senior students left the school. I went to a boarding school here for my secondary school, so we are always on campus and all that. So the ex-students will always come back to come and tell what they have done to why they were still in school, and they try to provide things for students. So there is a particular senior, or let me say alumni, that is always coming with pads, sanitary pads, distribute to the females. But anytime she come around, she'll be like, okay, she wants the guys to be there, not just the female. She wants them to be aware that this is not something that should be hidden. It should be readily available anywhere. If you can purchase for your friend that is a female, you should be able to do that. So we didn't see it as anything, even as at then when she started doing those things. I haven't started my period. So she would just give us, we would just go and put toothpaste and all sorts of things and just waste it because we didn't know the effect it was doing. But then for her, she's trying to empower us. Like, you guys should have this readily available. It should not be difficult for you to lay your hands on. Because so it was when I started, I think I was 14, that I realized that a lot of the little money my parents is going to give me for my allowance, I will now find it very difficult to buy sanitary pad inside. I didn't know the effect of what she was doing then until when I started using it. So for her, it was an empowerment for us. Like, okay, when you guys have this thing readily available, you know the importance and all that. So I think that was my first, that was feminism for her. That was definition of feminism for her. Yeah, empowering other ladies like her for things that should be readily available, but it is not still affordable for some. So that was one. Then the part where I wrote a piece. I think Patsy brought it out that somebody said a feminist can't have a boyfriend or something like that. Yes, I get that a lot. When I share my piece with people to read, they'll be like, "Are you sure you are going to cook for your husband at home? Are you sure you are going to do the work and all that?" I'll be like, "What are you saying? This is just about equality. This is just about what justice. Yes, this is just about speaking out what I want, what you want, and let everybody be on the same page." So for me, yeah, feminism, yes, going with what Esther said, feminism here is always looked at as if it's something very, very bad. If you're a feminist, you don't want any man to rule over you. You don't want to be in a relationship. You don't even want to get married. You just want to be an independent man. And that's what used to make it funny when people say, "Oh, a feminist is not supposed to be broke." Because if you're a feminist, you are supposed to be dependent. You are not supposed to have a man in your life. No, that's not it. It's just saying what you want and being on the same page with the men. Equality. So over here, feminism is not fully understood. But some, just like the senior that I said, they do it in such a way that it doesn't go through the misogyny way. They don't bring the men into it. They just try to empower ladies. So that's what it looks like for me over here.
Thank you. I don't think Moni had a chance to speak before she was cut off.
Okay, so feminism in Pakistan and South Asia, feminism is bad word. We use it to like say curse word to someone, so we said, oh, you are feminist. So it is like this. So that's why I love this live stream, because this truly tell people what truly what is real feminism. And I hope now people are like finding ways to know real feminism. And what about me? When I you said, Uwanah, when first time when someone they told me like you are feminist, so I was like, what is he saying about this? And what it was when we Muslim can marry our cousin. So, and I told everyone that I'm not going to marry any of my cousin, because I had genetic condition. It is very long story. I don't want to say many things. So I don't want it in my children. So I'm not going to marry my cousin. So, but all of my family gathered, and they were telling me things like, please marry him, he's good boy, and this and that. And I said, no, I'm not going to marry him. And all of them said to my father, this is because of you. You allow her to go to university, and that's why this is happening. She is becoming feminist. She is becoming feminist. Do you think? And I said, no, I'm not feminist. I just don't want to marry him. So, yes, but now I understand what truly feminism mean and everything. And I proudly said now to everyone that yes, I am feminist, and I work in feminism magazine, and I love it. And I love my live streams, and I am very proud of it.
Fabulous. Somebody wrote in, I don't know if you want me to read it, Uwanah, or if you want to read it. Do you see the live chats?
You should read it.
Okay. So this is, who is this? Okay, hello everyone. This is Sudak Sheena from India. If I said the name right. So nice to meet you all. And then she says, the term feminism was alien to me as a child, but my instincts were bent toward pointing out the wrongs done by boys and teaching them a lesson. Wanted to play cricket, but got rejected, and that made me sad. In my toddler years, a boy in my class tried to lift my skirt. The feeling that this is wrong was instant, and I was hardly 5 then. I was 9 when my father's friend smooched me. I was disgusted. I agree with Muniba that feminism is seen as a trait in my country, a toxic one. There are men who even ask, oh, you hate men? No, I don't. I just want men to have empathy and compassion. So thank you for sharing that in the live chat. And we love to expand the conversation that way. And I totally get it. Does anyone?
Is not very accepted worldwide. Like it has been years at this point. I think, but still, it's still not like very accepted. But at the same time, there are like different ways that women in different parts of the world are oppressed. For example, reading about Sangeeta's article about Italy, where the women do not have to take their husbands. So when I first heard about it, I thought that was like very empowering because it's a constant debate over here. because it's seen as like disrespect if you do not want to take your husband's name. It's not like it's you must, but it's expected that you get married to this man, you're supposed to take his name. So yeah, we should just talk about like the unique ways that women in your country are oppressed. Like for example, one big example in my own country is widows' rights. That's RITES. It's something they do to widows after their husbands die, and it's like a very gruesome process. And it's still being done till today. Like they do a lot of inhuman things to this woman. There are some communities where they wash the corpse, the dead husband's corpse, and they give them the water to drink. In some places, you have to sleep, like not like have sex, but you have to sleep in the same room with him overnight to prove that you did not kill him. They shave your head, and they shave it in a very rough way, like you can have injuries on your head. Like they do a lot of very inhumane things to this woman for no reason at all. I think it's just a form of humiliation. Like it's just a way to humiliate them, because like what do you mean you're accusing every woman who loses her husband of killing him? Like why is everybody killing their husband? Why do you think everybody's killing their husband? Like
Well,
something they do over here.
I think that's a very good question. Why do they assume you want to kill your husband?
Yeah.
I mean, that right there kind of lets you know that things aren't great in a marriage situation if they say the women always want to kill the husband.
That's true. They assume that you want to kill this man. I had a friend who her dad was very sick. Like he was very, very sick. And when there was no more hope, she asked the woman, my friend's mom, had to quickly take him to his family's house and drop him there so that he would not be in the house when he dies. And even at that, she still was not free, because it's like, what did you do to make him sick? Like somehow this must have been your fault. He died in the family house while she was not there, but they still found a way to blame her for it. And apart from even like all of that, like you don't have space to grieve in all of this process. You do not have the space to grieve. You're not even expected to move on. For like if you move on from this marriage years after the man dies, you are seen as a prostitute. Like, oh, you're moving from men to now. And also I don't know if the Yoruba people do it, but they do it in my own, like the part of the country I'm from, where when your husband dies, you do not announce it to the family immediately. Because first of all, you have to start securing documents, the house documents, the card of like any maybe land documents, any valuable thing that you guys have, you have to hide it, because they are going to come for it and they're going to leave you in the streets with your children. If you have only female children, they are going to just throw you out. And then when we throw you out, they expect you to still move on. They expect you to still suffer and mourn the loss of this man for the rest of your life, even though they threw you out of the family's house or your husband's house. I don't understand it. So it's just there are unique ways that women are punished for being women in our different parts of the world. So like I would like you guys to share ones that are unique to where you are currently.
So for the Yoruba parts, following up with the rights that you mentioned, over here you have to stay indoor for 40 days wearing all black.
Yeah.
You have to stay indoor. Then for the inheritance, I once wrote about it now. If the woman mistakenly give birth to female child, no, she doesn't stand a chance. If she doesn't have a single male child, that's the end. But if there's a male child, yeah, she still has a part of it to still go to the male and to the other members of the family. So that's the way it works for the part of Nigeria that I am from. Or sleeping with the cops, or you mourn. Sometimes they even ask you to marry your husband's brother, or
to marry from the family you want to marry.
And the twist is that when a widower loses a wife, all these things doesn't happen to him. All these things happen. So I don't get it.
He gets a lot of sympathy. Like no sympathy for the woman for losing her husband, but
start telling him to get married like weeks after. You have to bring another person inside that will be cooking for you, that will be taking care of your children and all those things. So the double standard is just too glaring.
Yeah.
Well, I remember your story, and I think I'll link it afterwards in the details of this video because it was such a good explanation of how women are kept oppressed. The way I remember it, say you have a grown daughter who's been working in your business and knows how to do everything, and you have a 5-year-old son and you're dying, you leave everything to your 5-year-old son, even though your daughter could keep it running and make money for everyone in the family, etc. But they don't want to do that. So that's
Even if
terrible.
it was if it was, what would I call this? Traditional rulers now. I don't know what to term it. You are supposed to pass on the title to your male child. In families where they don't rotate it according to houses, maybe it's just your family that is supposed to be the king of that particular town, and you have just a son that is 5-year-old, and you have a daughter that is 30-year-old. She has to represent. She will never be the female king. Oh, there's nothing like the first female king or something. You have to go and sit on the throne, represent him until he's 18.
Yeah.
Come and put him on the throne. You have to wait for him to be of age. So they try to call them, they call
With
them
your life.
yes, they call them Adele in Yoruba, like you wait for him to grow, then he will come and take over his father's position. So there are just so many ways we are being oppressed by.
And even with the inheritance thing, I have with recent, like a very close story. So this young lady, she had even like she went to university and she had gotten a job outside the states, outside of the states where her family stays. My family has a hotel business, a very big hotel. And so when she was away from the state, they needed her help. So they said, like the dad is getting older and he cannot really oversee the business the way he's supposed to. So like he needs a family to do this. So she quit her job and went to take over the family business. And she even took it to a different level. Like she grew the business basically. And then when her brothers got older, they basically bullied her out of the business with the help of both of her parents. Like you have done this for this long, but now you have to get out because this business, this hotel is for these boys. You were just taking care of it for them. And she had to leave everything and go back to start looking for a job.
Wow. Wow, that money, you hate to say money matters, but this reminds me of Muniba's story. Money does buy happiness if it means, you can take care of yourself and your children, your family. Yeah. We got some more comments.
Okay.
Let's see what she says. She says, women are sent to the in-laws' house after marriage. I'm 39, never married, still meeting men with the intention of marriage. Yes, arranged marriage is a thing in India. No one talks about my parents, as if the woman's parents don't matter and they can be abandoned just like that. Okay, I don't fully understand that comment, but maybe Sangeeta can.
I'll demystify it. So the idea with marriage in India is the woman is not treated as a daughter of the house the way there is a son of the house. She is kind of treated as like a someone else's property that we're basically taking care of until she leaves. So in that way, you're raising the daughter to become the caretaker of her in-laws, to become the keeper of her husband's house. That's who she is. That's all her identity is. So in arranged marriage situations, if you ever say, okay, well, my parents are old too. Do we have a contingency plan? Do I get to take care of my parents? That's a no. it's not just a feminist issue. It's just it's actually such a pervasive sexism that it starts from before you're even born. In India, it's illegal to know the sex of your baby because female feticide is so common. It's it's banned by the law, and if you try to get to know, and it is found that you tried to get to know, you get like an FIR, like a court case against you, basically.
Oh,
And because it's we when I was a child, I don't know current statistics, but when I was a child, the average male to female ratio was it would be between 850 to 950 women per 1,000 men. Now, it doesn't sound like a big discrepancy, but when you walk out into the street, you don't see a lot of women because they're not allowed to exist up to a certain point. We're very disposable. We are almost as though you raise this daughter with the full intention that, oh, whatever she has to do in her life, she's going to do in the husband's house. So we don't care. Like at the lowest class and also the more kind of rural areas, women are like girls are not allowed an entire education. Again, illegal for us to not have education until the age of 16. But most girls don't even get to go to school at all, period. They can't read, they can't sign their own name. That's at the village level. Take that even to diaspora, like to Indians who live abroad, they carry that in them. It's so ingrained in us that your parents will not allow you to do a bachelor's or a master's degree because they assume that when you hit 18, you're going to want to get married. You're going to be married by 20 and out of the house. So you want to marry a guy who either already has his business or has a master's himself. And in fact, this was something that I used to get told as a child as well. Uh, oh, you want to travel to Europe? You'll do that when you're married. Oh, you want to have a higher education degree? You can do that when you're married. You want to wear a bikini? Do that when you're married. You know, you can have all the fun you want when you're married. So marriage almost is sold to us as this ticket to heaven where we finally get to have equal rights. Finally, we get to have the
not.
same kind of education. And it's not, obviously, it's not. Once you're married, you basically become, like I said, the keeper of your husband's estate, keeper of his parents, keeper of your, in-laws, like your his little brothers and sisters. You if you want to see, there have been cases of women who were not allowed to go see their ailing parents who are dying by their husband, and it still is not considered a form of emotional torture or emotional abuse, even though there have been times when women have tried to speak up against it. And you're disposable. You're basically someone pays dowry. I know it's different for the Muslim population of India and also in Pakistan. I know it's different. You get something called, I don't know if it's a bride price, but it's kind of Muniba will be able to talk about it in the future. Like it's the opposite. Like the man kind of pays a dowry in a way for I think if I'm not mistaken. But for us, it's the woman's family that pays for you to marry the woman. And if you don't get enough, we have something called these stove burst accidents. I've written about this in Fourth Wave a while ago, a long time ago, actually.
Yes.
And it's basically she didn't bring enough. So she gets tortured, she gets beaten, they kill her and then pretend it was a stove burst because obviously she was in the kitchen because that's where we're supposed to be. And you get set on fire. And this is so common that it's called stove burst accidents, but they're not accidents. It's you're getting killed because you didn't bring enough. So you women in my country are commodified in that way. And it's ironic because I'm not Hindu, but the majority Hindu population also has a lot of female goddesses, especially like if you know names for them. Kali is one that's constantly circulating around Instagram for some reason. And these are supposed to be empowering goddesses. They're supposed to be feminist goddesses. You know, they would try to avenge women and help them to feel liberated and empowered. But the, on ground way that women are treated is just not at all a reflection of that, we're such a feminist country. We have female gods, which no one else has. Everybody else's god is a man, but our god is not always a man. We have women as gods. I feel like I could keep going, and I don't want to take on more time, but yeah, it's one thing after another.
Yes, about dowry, I want to add something that in my culture, I am Pashtun and my husband is Punjabi.
Okay.
So we are from different, like what it's called, caste or something. So in Pashtun culture, we take yeah, this bride price or something. My father didn't take. My family is like modern Pashtuns. We don't know anything about it, but our ancestor did this, that bride price and everything. And in my husband family, they take dowry. So in my culture, we like it, they give us, and in his culture, like this. So, but thankfully, both of families were modern. They didn't take any dowry. I didn't give any bride price, so we were good. But yes, women are dying from this. They are like in Pakistan, we said burning brides. We give it a name, burning bride, because there are so many of them. There are so many of these brides who were killed because of this only thing, that she didn't give them fridge or AC or anything.
Uh, mm,
Wow.
So
I
yes.
find that so weird because over here in Nigeria, we also have the bride price culture, and it's the men who are supposed to pay bride price to the woman's family. But it's the women who are still the victims of the bride price practice. So, like, whether the women are paying or the men are paying, like, it's always the woman that's going to be the victim.
Yes.
So,
uh,
yeah.
And Muniba, I remember you saying because of the way divorce works in Muslim culture, your father still wanted to give $10 or some small amount.
It is something else. In when we sign nikah, so in Islamic culture we have a thing called meher, ak meher. It is Islamic thing. Dowry is not Islamic thing. Bride
mm,
price is not Islamic thing, but meher is. Meher is something when husband is divorcing her wife, so he have to pay her the price so she can ask him divorce, like thing like but I hope I can give you int, like it is like this. If husband is divorcing her his wife, so first he has to give her meher. It is it is like meher is something like the price of house, full house, structural house. It is very big. So they don't divorce their wives because of this. So I have to pay her this. So they kind of beat her wife or beat his wife or killed his wife. So it is out of the way and he can marry someone else. Or if he don't want to beat her or kill her, he can marry her like this. He can say, I'm going to marry someone else. L. So this is like this thing.
Oh,
But
I
when
don't
I
know
was,
who. Sorry to cut you short. It was about that Meher we were talking about. I don't know who also watched that movie, Haq, Haq.
yes, heck,
So,
yes, yes. It
so
is
what if
about this.
you know the woman she didn't receive, she didn't collect that money.
No.
She didn't collect that money. So if the
Yes,
woman rejects it, will the divorce still go on?
Hmm.
yes, it didn't collect money. She was asking for this. That's why. She said if women said I'm going to saying that I'm not asking any meher, so please just give me divorce.
Okay,
So this
okay,
can be thing too.
Hmm.
okay.
And what did the $10 have to do with it? I'm confused. Sorry. So why did your father want to give him a small amount of money?
Yes, when I was getting married, so my father said that I'm going to take meher, but it is only going to be $10 or like very small amount. So he can just divorce me if he wants. He don't have to beat me or kill me or something.
I get it now. Okay.
But
Wow.
one other thing, if I'm asking for divorce, there are many things to do. Like in Huck movie, she was literally fighting for her choices, for her things. Like she want her like she wants money for her children, not for herself.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why she was like, if husband divorce his wife, he have to give allowance to his children,
Okay.
but he was not going something to him. It was about this, I think.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll say this, living in the United States, I feel like people will say, "Oh, you don't need any feminism here because you don't have these practices where your husbands aren't killing you or beating you or um, the various things you're describing. You can inherit money, you can have a business and everything." And that's true. We do have a lot of rights, but I just have to say the job isn't finished because men hold most of the wealth, most of the power in society. So in government, it's all men. In religion, it's all men. In business, it's all men. So women are still, but it's more subtle the ways that they are kept limited and restricted in what they can do with their lives. And we have these rights, but they can also be taken away so easily, like they recently in the United States took away our right to abortion. And the thing is, they pretend that they have a religious reason for it. Oh, we believe that that little fetus is a human and we want to protect them. But that's not really it. It's clearly not really it because they don't protect living babies. They don't provide money for poor babies. They don't protect babies being sexually abused and trafficked and so it's just a way to control women because if you can't control when you have children, you are enslaved. You have to get your money somewhere to feed these babies. So yeah, I feel like it's a continuum, and the more we know about each other and the conditions in all the countries, the better. And one other thing I wanted to say, in the beginning we talked about how people will criticize you for being a feminist, and they'll say you're a man hater. And I just wrote a story about this, how it's ironic they use that term man hater when it's men who hate women, when it's men who kill, who beat, and who you know, seriously hurt women, but we never say, oh, you're a woman hater. And if we did, they wouldn't care. Yeah, I hate women. In fact, they're online right now saying I hate women. I want to manipulate them. I want to use them as sex tools. But women don't say that. I mean, maybe some do, but mostly they're just saying, like our writer, our contributor online said, we just want some empathy. We want some compassion. We want to be seen as fellow human beings. That's all. And that doesn't mean we hate men, right? We just hate the kind of systems that are run by men and hurting us. That's all.
Actually, to contrast with what you said as well, considering when I pull Italy, Italy is actually so similar to the United States. Like talking about specifically things related to abortion and being more covert with sexism, with the way that women are treated. For example, if I had to talk about, say, getting a permit of stay for a foreigner. Now, when I wanted one for work, it was incredibly hard for me to get because I'm a woman who wants this job and I have to prove that I'm going to have this job in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years, for example. But a friend of ours, his wife is also a foreigner and she wanted a permit of stay. And he's also a foreigner. It was difficult for him to get one, but because she's married to someone who has a permit of stay, she got hers in a couple of days. It took me a year to get mine, and all because I wanted one for a job. And like Uwanah mentioned earlier, the story that I wrote about how women, yes, here we don't take the husband's last name, but the onus of taking care of the children and the household is still on the woman, just like it would be in the Middle East, just like it would be in South Asia. If anything, so many people here to circumvent taxes don't get married. But the stigma attached to having a child out of wedlock, even though you cohabit with the person that you're with and you have 2 or 3 children together, the stigma is still the woman's. And you have these abortion rights groups who are currently allowed to enter, sorry, anti-abortion, like anti, what am I trying to say? Pro-life, I guess, um, anti-abortionists who want to enter clinics where women are trying to get help, not even necessarily abortion, but just, free clinics where women can get pap smears, where they can just get regular health care. They're able to infiltrate and talk to you and campaign against your decisions. And this is legal by law now. Literally, a whole bill was passed so that women can be harassed at a gynecologist's office, essentially. And so, even in the West, where people assume that it's much better and, oh, you don't really need feminism. I mean, you have a job just like he does. You are still dealing with what getting asked whether you're going to leave the job once you have a child or you get married, being treated as though you can be passed up for a raise or a promotion because maybe she might have a family in the future, being treated as basically a second class citizen until you have a husband, until you have children. And then the onus of the entire lineage is yours, but your name never gets attached to your children. Even if you don't change your name, your last name, your kids always get the father's name. You literally become the last woman with your surname. It dies with you here in Italy. So I would argue, having lived in all of these places, it's not that different. It's just there is almost a veneer, like a mask, where people pretend like they don't hate your guts for being a woman, but they kind of do. Just they know how to hide it so they don't get into legal trouble, as compared to other parts of the world where, say in India, it is very overt and everybody knows it's happening, but they don't want to do anything about it and don't want to make a big deal about it.
And I was reading your article about the, like, women not getting married. I cannot really remember the explanation, but also the name, like giving names to kids, but like why can't they give their name to their kids if they're not married to the man? I do not get that.
Yes, so
Why can't they just register
this is a really good
in their
No, honestly, this is a really good question. See, because here it's just patriarchy. At the end of the day, the assumption is your children, regardless of whether you're married to the man or not, will have the father's name. You can't get a child a birth certificate in Italy without a father. The father has to be present. And you have to be present. So, for example, in my story, I mentioned that, like, usually there's a power of attorney sort of thing. So, for example, you just gave birth, so you want to stay at the hospital or, in bed rest, whatever rest you need. So, usually the father does all the paperwork and takes care of all of that. But if you don't marry the father, like, you both decide, hey, for whatever reason, say taxation, we don't want to get married, you as the woman still have to get out of your hospital bed, you know, carry yourself to all of these offices and register the child with that man. Like there is no longer power of attorney. So if
what
anything,
if I don't know?
if you now
What if I
if
don't know
you
the
don't
man?
then there's a lot of bureaucratic harassment essentially. It gets really
Oh,
hard. There are ways to go around it, of course, but it's the same as anything else, especially in Europe. There is harassment. They don't call it that directly. They're not going to tell you, oh, we're going to hound you until you figure something out. But they will be so awful to you, especially as the woman, because at the end of the day, this we have the Catholic Church here. We have literally Rome and the Vatican City, not that far from here, 2 hours away. And it's still a place where a woman cannot just in good faith have a child alone and still have a normal life. The shame just follows you everywhere. And if you have a child alone, you say there is no father. I believe there is government intervention. Now, I will have to look that up because, again, that's a really good question. I do know that it's very, very difficult to register a birth without a father. But if genuinely he's dead or something of that sort, I think I'm gonna have to look up what happens. But all I do know is there is a form that you have to fill. And I don't know if there's a guarantee that anybody's going to actually, take that claim and file it. But you have to register your child within the first few weeks of birth because they need to get their tax code, which is going to follow them for the rest of their lives. And they need to get their ID card, which again, same thing. And you cannot get any of that if the birth certificate doesn't have the father's registered name. Now, yes, to some extent, you can technically do the hyphenation and give your last name to the baby, but it's like an afterthought. It's like yours will be the second, like it'll be after the hyphen. It won't be before. In fact, I even mentioned this, the leftist party that we have here wanted women to be able to give the child their name. And Italian authorities were just like, no, we don't want that. What, next you want to kill all the fathers? I literally even put a quote in the story, which is like, oh, what, now we want to get rid of all the fathers? Is that what the left wants? Is what our current party says about this. So
You
in
know what?
India, though, you just pass on the father's name and no one talks about it.
I want to say something funny. In the US, where a lot of people got their DNA analyzed when that became possible, you could send in $23 or whatever and get your
Oh.
I forget what it was, but anyway, my daughter's a geneticist. She wanted me to do that, and I did that, and a lot of people did it. My husband said, no, I don't want them to have that data. But what they found out, a lot of people didn't have the right father. Their father was not really their father. And it was shocking to a number of people. I read a number of stories like that. So it's kind of funny that they have to take the father's name when the mother is the only one you know for sure is the parent, right? Why shouldn't they take the mother's name? They should absolutely take the mother because that's the clear lineal heritage, and the rest is, can be questioned, which
Uh,
I believe is why virginity is so prized in so many cultures because they don't want anybody else to be the father without knowing, right? But anyway, I don't know. Just some thoughts, just some random thoughts
I
to add.
I want to add something to it. My cousin, she was recently divorced, and they took her three children, and they said that children are they belongs to father,
Yeah.
and only 4 year, 2 year, and one was only 6 month old. And I don't know how. And I told her that go to court, and they are going to allow it. He is only 6 month old, and she said no. Court is other kind of harassment,
Mm.
and this is,
Wow.
yes, it is very sad that women give life, and she gave 9 months of her life when she is uh, bringing them to life. She is literally in bed of dying, like she might die, and all of they think. And when man said, I don't want her, he can have his children and everything. It is
Oh,
very sad.
wow.
It's also very similar over here. Like the fathers have very strong rights. Like there's this very, I don't know, I was following the case up where this woman, like right from when they got married, she had been getting abused by this man. Like he beats her up, locks her out of the house, takes her money because she had more money than him, brings his family member who also harasses her and all of that. So she went through a lot in the marriage. And he also extended the abuse to the kids. So and that was when she decided to leave. Like he would lock her out of the house for like maybe 2 days and starve the children. Even though she made food and kept in the fridge. We'll see he does not know how to cook. So the kids will not eat. And it led to one of them like getting hospitalized. And she
Oh,
ran away with the kids. And then he caught her, took her to court. That he wants to bring his kids life. And after explaining all of this with evidence, like she had a lot of evidence of the years of abuse, like doctor's reports and all of that, they cut, like she took them to a different school, changed their school and hid it from him. Basically, they extended, like, he has to be in their life. Like, there's nothing they can do with their father. So he has, like, he beats these children up so badly, but he has to be in their life with their father at the end of the day. So they really also prioritize the father's rights over it, no matter what, no matter how abusive the father is.
they do that here too, and there are these men's groups who claim that women get everything in divorce. They get, and they're lying, they're taking your wealth and this and that. But then I read these stories about how abusive fathers end up with custody of their children, even when the mothers have evidence, and they're just horrifying, scary stories.
Yes, here many women are just not leaving their husband who are abusive and everything just because of this. That what about kids? Where are kids going and all this? And this is like something, like I think that children are most vulnerable thing and part of everyone's life. So I think if one thing feminist can change or feminism can change, if they can truly give children their rights too. I don't know.
I agree. Absolutely. Absolutely. Children need rights. And honestly, I mean, it I see jokes and stuff about other cultures where the children are beaten in order to discipline them, and people think it's funny or it's okay, but I do not think it's okay. And teaching children to respect their adults is really hard. It possibly sets them up for abuse, and you have to teach them differently. You have to teach them they're in charge of their body, their life. I know it ends up being difficult to parent these children because they won't always do what you say, but it seems to me it's necessary to keep them safe in this dangerous world of sex abuse and physical abuse.
It's already past 6, so I think we have to be rounding up.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Mooney, are you going to lead us next week? Do you have a
Yes.
topic?
I invite Velma. I don't know if she's coming or something. I want to talk about domestic abuse and how can we how can we help each other and everything about this.
We did have one more comment from the viewer in India. She says, what Muniba is saying, the same practice is known as alimony in India. You must have seen Indian men on social media using gold digger and alimony as the only comeback to feminist posts. So that's funny too, that women are gold diggers, right? Mm-hmm. I just find it all so counter to the truth. All these things we are called and accused of.
To add to that, though, with the India and alimony thing, it's interesting because my mother was divorced and she didn't get a dime. You know, my half brothers and my half sisters and brother, they didn't really get anything. There was no alimony, there was no child support, there was nothing. And but you still get to see people who've never lived it, who've never seen anybody live it, talk about, oh, women want to take advantage of us. But you're the one who's getting the dowry, but you're the one who's getting essentially free labor in the house. You're the one who's getting someone who's going to give you babies and take care of the babies and feed those babies and teach those babies. You're getting an entire lineage. You're getting the best deal of your life. And she pays for it to enter your house in India. Like,
That's so funny.
where's the math?
Yeah.
The complete it over here, and it's also not in our favor. Like they use it to their advantage. Oh, they paid the dowry, so they can do whatever they want to the woman. And yet, it's like they collected the dowry, and it's not enough. I don't know.
Yeah. For a life, like I don't think there's I think it's worth, if I'm not mistaken, $70 million is what every single organ in your body is worth. If I'm not mistaken, it's just a random fact I read many years ago. I could be wrong. It could be more, it could be less now. But nothing is ever enough to buy a woman and everything that she is, everything that she can bring you. You can't put a price on us. That's insane, isn't it?
Yes.
Because if the man
Absolutely.
not just, if you pay the bride price, we are still the one we are still the victim. Let me put it that way. If they pay the bride price, we are still
Yeah,
the victim. So it's just it's so
So
crazy.
women
Yeah.
walk away.
And anytime there's any misunderstanding in the house, the first thing they point out, I paid your bride price. So what are you talking about?
And if she wants to leave, they have to return the bride price.
Yeah,
Like what
yeah.
I forget what when he called it, that's of the like in this case they have to return the bride price to the man. And there are cultures where the bride price is quite a lot. For example, my culture, the bride price is very much. I don't know why. So some families find it hard to return the bride price because they have used it already. So the woman has to just remain in the situation. So she cannot do anything. But I think with Dami's culture, I think the bride price is way less. I think.
Yes, for us,
I
the
don't know if
bride
she
price is
is. Yes,
the
like
bride
it's
price.
very cheap. So I think it.
Yes, it's way lesser. Even most parents now return it and say, "Oh no, we are not selling our daughters." But the anchors of the programs will be like, "No, this is your right. You are supposed to take it.
Yes.
It's no matter your daughter or something. Okay, if you don't want it, give it to the girl child. She's going to do something with it." So, but then it's way lesser when compared to Uwanah's. Yes, I've seen the list of a friend of mine that it was a lot. It was a lot. It
Yeah.
was a full A4 paper.
Yeah.
The list was
Like they
endless.
a lot of sense. You can bring cow,
Yes,
yams,
yams.
money, oil, clothes, jewelry.
Wow.
Really
Wow.
It's a
And
lot.
there's part of Yoruba culture that is like that. To the Ilorin people, you have to give the bride a box full of fabrics. Then
okay.
another are underwears, accessories, bags, and all that. Then for the stuffs and all of that. But for the Yoruba people, I think we are just the cheapest. We are the cheapest.
For them, it's just very easy.
Well, people in the US spend a lot of money on a big party, and they can spend tens of thousands of dollars on that one party. And I remember one of the richest women in San Francisco, a grandchild of a very rich family, had this huge, enormous, like 3 day party and spent so much money. And then just a few years later, she was divorcing this man. And I just have to say, when I was growing up, because the woman's parents are supposed to pay for it. So my father, who had 5 daughters, said, I'll give you this much for the wedding, or you could keep the money. Do you want a wedding or you want the money? And we all wanted the money. And nobody had a big wedding. Everybody had got married in the backyard. 5
Yes,
people.
Yes.
Let's take the
that's
money and buy a house or do what we can, whatever we can.
Also, also a minimum of literally 3 days. So because we have the
Yeah.
introduction, the traditional marriage, and then the white wedding. So our wedding ceremony is also a minimum of 3 days too. So it's a whole thing. Like you're paying to the family, and you're also having this very big wedding too.
Which costs a lot of money, had to have that 3 days, right? And Mooney's
yes.
just been to a
Yeah.
3 day wedding.
Yes. Tomorrow is another function. When
Ah,
I was getting married, like Patsy, I told everyone that I don't want big wedding. I am not so wedding was very simple, short in my home and only with people I love. So yes, it is
Nice.
very big thing in Desi families. We
yeah.
Yes, because they see families want big wedding with thousands of people. I don't know their names, so I'm not inviting anyone.
It's like a status thing for us. We want to show off. It's the biggest event you can have.
Yes,
You can't celebrate getting a promotion, but the wedding is the party of your
yes.
life, and it's many days. Mine
Right.
was 4 days.
Wow.
Yeah, but it was in the house and it was just a few of us, but it was 4 days because you have to do so many things leading up to and then ending it. It was a week. We had people from all of these other places come over, stay with us, and it's nice to have community, but usually it's just ostentatious. It's just to show wealth. It's just to show, oh, look,
Yeah.
we did this big wedding and, we're so rich and generous. We're giving all of this stuff to the groom and the bride. And it's
You know,
awful.
my one of my children got married an Israeli, and over there, a typical wedding has 500 people, 250 from the bride's side and 250 from the groom. But he only had like 5 people because we came from the U.S. It was me and his dad and his sister, and then all the guests bring money, and they just put money in the box, and the money
Yeah,
pays
they
for
do.
the wedding. So
Mhm.
that seemed like a good system. So nobody's having to come up with the money. That money paid for all the festivities. So that was good, I thought. Anyway, that's another topic for another time. I know we're over time. And Munia will be leading us next week talking about domestic violence. And I hope you all come back again and have a great rest of your day or night.
Betsy, I want to talk to you after meeting if you have only 10 minutes.
Okay, I will talk to you on after the meeting.
Okay.
Okay.
Bye,
Bye.
everyone.
Bye.
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 Great discussion. Thank you.
Thank
Great
you.
discussion.